Hey guys, this is Michael from Student Survival Guide. I'm joined here today by Tan, and we are together making this series that will explain everything about cars in Denmark. This series will contain everything from import, buying cars, servicing cars, and pretty much everything we know about cars in Denmark. I personally have been here for 4 years. Tan was born in Denmark, and we know quite a lot about cars at this point. We want to tell you everything that we know.
We hope so, at least. It's freaking cold outside.
It's really cold here.
But we're going to shoot this video because there's a lot of people also asking and also curious about how the expenses are regarding maintaining car, but how do you pay taxes? And
it's very confusing, and it's all in Danish, so
yeah, it's so many things, and suddenly you're going to be ruined for your whole month or half a year maybe on cars. So yeah, we're going to make this series to make it a little bit easier for you to navigate in the car business in Denmark.
So this series is going to have 5 parts. Today is the first part where we're going to be talking about the import of cars. But before we begin with that, why did we start to make this series? We just explained. But how is the series going to look like? We are going to tell you right now. We are probably not going to edit this way too much because we don't have too much time to make this series. But there's been a lot of people that want this information, so we just decided to put a camera and tripod, get out here. It's a beautiful day today, and we just want to tell you how it is with cars in Denmark. If you are thinking about getting a car here as a student, or if you're already here for some time but the information out there is really confusing, because indeed it is, and many people are struggling with this. So hopefully this series throughout the weeks will explain to you everything you need to know about cars. If you know someone that wants to bring a car to Denmark or thinks about buying a car in Denmark, it's a good idea to forward them this series because we'll probably cover everything there is to cover about cars. So without further ado, let's start talking about cars in Denmark. So Tan, you've been here for your whole life.
Yeah.
How is it with cars in Denmark? What kind of cars are people driving in here?
I mean, it's actually quite varying too much. In my family, we always bought some shitty cars. I'm not saying shitty, it was actually quite cool. I wish you owned them today, actually. But it was like, the tax is like insane. I think it's based on the base car price. Then you have to add like a VAT on 25%, and then you have to pay 180% above that just in registration tax.
Yeah, so when you are buying a car for the first time and you're buying it from a dealership and it's brand new, then to register the car so you can drive it on the road and you get a license plates, you have to pay not only the car itself but also the VAT from the car, and also you need to pay 180% on top of the car price.
Yeah. So the car park here in Denmark is quite especially not like in UK or in USA, America, because right here we have to like have the much efficiency, and if you have a nice big engine, it costs you a lot in taxes. So yeah, the car park is usually something like this, I think.
It's very. You can see that the Denmark is trying to urge people to drive older cars, you could say.
Yeah.
Because buying a new one, a brand new one, like a brand new BMW, can cost you so much money that you probably cannot even imagine. Like it's just way too much money.
Yeah, it really is. And sometimes when I have like American friends over, they're asking, hey, how much is the car? And they're like, whoa, that car costs like 1/3 in the US.
Yep.
So
So you'll end up with a lot of crappy cars on the road. This is pretty much what I'm driving as well. For the price of my car here in Denmark, I could have bought myself probably a BMW in Germany.
Yeah.
But because we are in Denmark, I could get like Volkswagen Polo. That was the best I could do for the money.
Yeah.
So this is how it is. So you should expect that people are driving older cars, but also they are driving more efficient cars, because the taxes, and we're going to be talking about this in upcoming episodes, they are based on
the mileage. The mileage. So if your car drives higher mileage, then you have to get a lower tax. And I think, what are you actually paying for 6 months on yours?
On this car, it's 1,300 kronas per 6 months.
How much kilometers a liter does it?
It's about 15.
15.
So in normal terms, that's like 7.5 liters for 100.
Yeah, and this bad boy is like, on paper, it's consuming 12 kilometers per liter. And I pay 2,500 sometimes, something like that for 6 months. So it's like a price difference on 100%.
Yeah. So this thing that we were just talking about, that's the green tax that you have to pay. That's what you pay outside of the insurance, and that's what you have to pay for the car, regardless of what car it is and whatever you are doing with it. Everyone has to pay it. This is the car tax here in Denmark, and because of this, it varies greatly between different car models, and mileage is usually the main factor in this.
Yeah, in the green tech.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about that in future videos.
Okay.
But for now, how are the roads here in Denmark?
I think the road is actually very good. We pay a lot of taxes on the roads, and the highway is smooth, silky smooth. I've driven a lot in Europe, and I really love this. There can be some bumpy roads, but in the standards is very, very high, I would say.
Yeah, this is like, especially like for me coming from Central Europe, we don't want anyone calling Slovakia Eastern Europe. The roads are uncomparable. It's amazing experience to drive here in Denmark. I remember the first time I was driving here, it's just so unusual when you don't have any potholes in the roads, where everything is just smooth, where all the sidewalks and everything are just leveled correctly. It's amazing. You don't really have to worry about changing your suppression or whatever is the name of that. Suspension.
Yeah,
I'm not too much into
cars.
So yeah, you don't really mess that up. So it's great. And also a great thing worth mentioning is that the highways are actually for free here in Denmark. You don't have to pay for highways as it is in most other countries.
Yeah, this is actually up for discussion because the Danish people actually paying huge amount of taxes for the road. And right now, everyone that is coming from Europe is actually going to drive, and they can drive for free in Denmark compared to, I think Czech, you have to pay a small amount of fee to drive on the roads, and also Poland. But in Denmark, it's actually completely free for foreigners. But the bill is going to be paid from the Danish tax money for sure.
Hey, so go and drive on the highways, it's on us.
Yeah, it's on us, I see.
While we are talking about the roads, what are the speed limits that there are in Denmark?
That's free. Main speed limits in the city is 50 kilometers, like everywhere in Europe, I guess. And when you come to the countryside, it's 80 kilometers. 80 kilometers an hour. And on the freeway, it's actually 130 kilometers an hour. And this is the free main. So if there's not any other signs, then it's these kind of free speed limits you have.
Yeah, so I think the biggest difference, at least compared to my country, is that on the countryside there is 80 instead of 90, which usually is the case around Europe, at least from what I've experienced.
In Germany it's 100 on the countryside actually, I think.
Oh, right.
But there's of course a lot of signs like 60, 70 zones, 80 zones, 90 zones, and 110 zones, I think. But usually, if there's no sign, then you have the free main references. Speed limits that you can get. Yeah, sure.
But at least from where we are, like in Midtjylland, around Horsens, a lot of the highways are capped at 110.
Yeah, there's a lot of the major roads and intersections in the highway that's 110. But usually, if you go a little bit more south, up north, it's like 130. A lot of times.
And also an amazing thing about Danish roads, while we are still talking about them, and you probably don't appreciate this because you're in Denmark for so long, but it's like they are very unified, and they are very I don't want to say universal, but they all work almost the same. That you have this main highway that's crossing the whole Denmark, and then from each city you have the same kind of connection to the highway, and you have the same kind of roads leading to the highway and from the highway. So like wherever you in Denmark you are, and whatever city you are in, you can get into highway in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes most of the time, if you're living close by, right? So it doesn't matter if you're coming from the north side of Aarhus or south side, it's always very easy to get to the highway, and this is something that you don't really appreciate elsewhere. In Denmark it works really, really well.
I didn't actually realize that, so it's good that they mentioned it actually.
So driving in Denmark, it's a pretty cool experience, not gonna lie. It's really nice, and especially during the summer when the sun is blazing and it's hot, and it's just lovely to drive around the countryside. So if you want to import your car to Denmark, what options do you have?
Yeah, I think that there's many different options. As you can see in the blogs, we have the proposed, I think there's three. Yeah,
there is three main. There is the 6 months permit to drive, there is a full registration, and there is a quarterly registration, which is somewhat as a full registration. But the 6 months permit And you can read more about this on our blog. We don't want to go too much into detail because we'll probably screw it up if we will be talking about it in here because we are no experts.
And I think also it's very important that this is mainly guidance.
Yeah.
And you should always go to SKAT. And sometimes if they can't answer, they should be able to answer all your questions. But
yeah, give them a call and ask them because we are making this video right now. It's January of 2020. You might be watching this in March 2020 and it's already different. So for now, there is a 6-month registration, which pretty much works that if you can prove that you're going to be here for only half a year and then you'll be going back home with your car, they can give you an option to register the car for, I think it's like 600 or 700 crowns. You get a permission, you get a piece of paper saying that, yes, indeed, you can be driving in Denmark. And why do you need to get all of these permissions or registration? We didn't talk about this. Is that because it's actually illegal to drive on foreign plates if you are here in Denmark? And we made a video about that. But what you have to know is that legislation in Denmark does not allow foreign cars to be driving in Denmark as soon as you become a resident. If you are a tourist, you can drive in Denmark, no problem. But if you are a resident and if you have a residence permit, if you're living here, working here, and you have your car, you need to have it registered on Danish license plates, pay Danish insurance and road tax. Otherwise, they can confiscate your vehicle, and
they'll fine you as much as the registration fee. So it can be very, very expensive for sure.
And I'm not sure how much time do we have right now, but there is a story that I have with a friend of mine about this. About a car. Yeah, it's really messed up. I think that was like the first year when I was in Denmark. Yeah. He was at the time one of my best friends. He had a car here. It was a very expensive car. It was Mercedes C-Class, older one, but still very expensive. And he was driving here. He was already living here for more than a year. And he was kind of a reckless boy, being like, I'm not gonna register anything. I don't care about this country. I don't care about Denmark. They can suck my... Long story short, like one day there was this SKAT patrol near university, and what they were doing were they were specifically looking for foreign plated vehicles. And they caught him. They told him to get out of the vehicle. They took the keys, they took the car. They haven't seen the car in a year. And he got fined for like 50,000 euros because he was lazy to register this car. So don't forget about this. This was like one of the biggest traumas that I've ever experienced in my life. When he was like, "Oh, they took my car, and now I have to pay like 50,000 euros in fine." I was like, "Holy smokes!" Denmark doesn't fuck around with you. Like really, they don't care. Yeah.
So I think the message is that especially those guys who come from Germany or Czech Republic, Slovakia. Any other European country, if you come with a car, then remember that take this seriously because it can cost you a lot of money if you get caught. So yeah, and that's I think jumps us to the next option, which is full registration. So if you have full-time students here, then you want to stay here for like let's say 3 years, maybe 5 years, and you bring your own car. Then you have to get the car registered as a Danish car. And this can be actually a long process because I think that one of the things that you might ask is how much should I pay for, let's say this specific Polo, for instance, how much should I pay? But there isn't any specific price saying this should be 10,000 kroner because it depends on your car, how the condition is and how is the mileage and so there's so many things. So if you even call SKAT, they can't even give you a specific amount, they can give you an estimate and you can actually I think you can negotiate a little bit, but I'm not sure. Talk with SKAT about it. But usually how it works is that, let's say you pay let's say 10,000 euros for this car. Probably not. But if you're paying 10,000 euros, you have to pay 25% to VAT to add up the cost on the market value. And afterwards you have to pay 180%. I think it's 180 right now, but there was discussion about it for 150 or 180.
It really depends on the car, but it is a lot regardless. Like it's quite a lot.
But this is like for a new car. This is a used car, and how they're actually going to evaluate your car value is actually they're going to the market in Denmark and find a similar car that looks exactly like yours, and then they will calculate the price from there. So I think make yourself and make a little bit of effort. Look at Bilbasen, DBA, Google Gratis, whatever you can
we're gonna link these probably on a blog on student-suava.com, and you can find them there.
And you can have a chance to actually look how much should you expect it to pay. And if they come up with a price of another car that's the way better conditions as yours, get in negotiation with them and make sure that you actually pay the right amount that is fair. But don't skip it. Don't skip it for sure. You're not going to pay 180% of this car, but they will take the market value and make it as a reference and calculate the amount of money it's going to cost for the same particular car.
So aside from the things that Tan just mentioned, the things that you have to pay a lot of money for, SKAT also gives you an option to pay for this quarterly. That means that every quarter a year you're gonna pay 1/4 of this price, so it's not like all at once, which can be a bit better because, well, it's not such a huge strain on your wallet, but still essentially you are paying like 130% of the market value of the car for the ability to drive it here, which can be viewed controversially, but we don't want to get into politics. And you might be better off just getting a car in here, and maybe that's the incentive behind these laws. Who knows? I don't, and I'm not gonna comment. But we're gonna talk about it, and I think it's the second part of the series, where to actually go find a car, how to get a good deal on it, what to look for, what to be aware of. Maybe we're gonna give you also some overview of how to actually buy a used car, some basic checklists, so you will not end up with a crappy old car like I did. But I'm good at this, trust me.
I mean, I think my personal opinion about this car important thing is that I would advise you to sell your car in your home country and take the money and buy something in Denmark, because it's quite of a hassle that is maybe not, maybe unnecessary sometimes. So I mean, unless it's like a really, really nice car that you bought, I don't know, saved you all your money on, and you have some emotional value on this car, then don't buy a car from here, and it's gonna be a lot easier for you.
The thing is that cars in Denmark in general are of a very good quality because of the fact, like we told you in the beginning, that the roads are very nice. You don't really have to care about the suspension.
Yeah, but that one thing is actually the rust.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get to that, but like you don't have to care about these things like such as suspension and faulty engines, because the cars are not shaking as much as they are in different roads. People are usually taking a rather nice care of their cars because people generally have more disposable income than in other countries.
I think you're right about that. That people maybe take care more about the cars because it's so expensive.
Yeah, exactly. And usually these are smaller cars, which are much more durable of the city life, I would say. So there are good things. The bad thing is, like as you mentioned, rust, which is
we have rust. We have rust in this car, we have in that car, and that's probably another one.
It's kind of a normal thing in Denmark right now. It's if you are buying an older car, and I think the newer car they don't really have this problem because they are not even metal anymore; they're all plastic. But when you are getting older car, they were not thinking of this. They were not thinking of like 30 years scale. So if you're buying a car from like early 2000s, and it's like in these colors, and it's like Volkswagen or Audi or BMW, chances are it's gonna be rusty somewhere at some point. You cannot really escape it. The way this begins is like there is a little rock that makes a chip in your paint, and it starts rusting, and rust is like a cancer for the car. It just spreads, and you have to change it, otherwise there is...
And normally they also salt the roads during the winter, so it's actually making the rusting process a little bit faster.
And being all around the sea, it's very salty in here everywhere.
Exactly.
So when you're going to be looking for a car, you might encounter a lot of cars with rust. If it's a small patch of rust, it can be fixed. If it's a bigger one, you probably have to replace the part, but still you can negotiate quite a good price because of the rust, so there are ups and downs. So what are the prices for each registration? We have probably touched upon that, but either way, unless it's a 6 months permit, you're gonna have to pay like 130% of the market value. You always have to pay a lot. It's just like the time frame in which you have to pay. And on top of this, you also have to pay for the license plates, which are about 1,000 kronas, I think.
1,180.
1,180 for the license plates. Then you have to pay for the insurance, which is again very complicated, and we're going to be talking about it in another part. But it's pretty much based on your age, how much you have crashed in the past, or how good of a driver you are,
Yeah.
and I think it's also based on what car you are driving, how old it is, what its value.
Yeah, we're gonna cover that later, but because it can be a little bit complex and much expensive for young people.
Like
sure.
I personally pay 100 euros every month for my insurance because I'm 23.
For that car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Is.
So how long will the process take if you want to import the car and register it? Again, this is something that no one really knows.
Yeah, we can't say for sure that it's gonna be 1 week, couple of months. It can take months if you don't agree on the price and the valuation of your car. So it can take quite a long time for sure.
I know that when you send any application to SKAT, they have like at least 3 weeks within which they can reply. Yeah. Usually when you, for example, with a 6 months permit, if you want to send that, you also have to pay for sending the application. I think it costs around 500 Danish kroner. They have like 3 weeks to reply. And this really pissed me off when I was trying to do it the first time. It's like, if you mess something up in the application, they are not obliged to reply to your application. And they have like 3 weeks. So after 3 weeks, they might not even reply at all, and you are left wondering what happened. So it takes like 1 month before, and you can make another application afterwards, and you don't even know what you did wrong in the application. But you still have to pay for it. This, again, something which like really discourages people from bringing their own cars, unless you want to like register it fully, which obviously they will fully support you to do. Why wouldn't they, right? Yeah. So you might also know that in other countries, and Denmark is no exception, we have these periodical checks of the condition of the car. In Denmark, it's called Nysyn, or Syn.
Yeah, Syn. Syn. Yeah, it's every 2 years, every car in Denmark has to be looked for to an inspection. I think it's in UK it's MOT maybe, and here you have to make sure that they're checking the brakes, they're checking the suspension, your tire, and basically everything that is involving your cars, especially underneath, and you have to pass that to make sure that you can actually be able to drive it. And if there's any faults, then you have like 1 month. It depends on how serious the problem is, but otherwise you gotta have 1 month to fix it. And a Syn costs normally from 400 to 500 kroner.
So if you don't pass it, you have to fix the thing, come back, pass it. If you don't pass it, then you have to keep fixing.
And usually it's like every 2 years, but if your car is like brand new, you bought it from the dealership and it's like 0 kilometers and just going off factory, then the first 4 years it doesn't have to go to Syn. But after 4 years, when the car has become more than 4 years old, then it's every 2 years.
And I think at some point it also switches that it's like every year when the car is older than like 20 years or something like that.
I don't think so.
Or did they change that from that? I don't know. We'll let you know in a comment or somewhere.
But just to be fair, every time I go to Syn, it's like an exam. I mean, it's like, I'm not gonna pass. This is gonna pass. I don't want more headache, like something like this. But I think it's good to make sure that every car that's running in Denmark is an acceptable condition.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Safe. Sure.
And also checking for emissions, which I had a problem with last time because of whatever problem my engine had. So it's really nice to see that they care, and actually the process is very transparent, I would say, compared to Central Europe, where I'm from, where usually you just pay for passing this kind of a thing. Now here they really do check whether the car is in a good condition, so that's very nice to see. And unfortunately, when we are talking about the import, you have to pass through the Nysyn or the Syn. As soon as you want to import the car, as soon as you want to register it. So keep this in mind that there's another 500 or 600 Danish kroner that you have to pay on top, and it might not even pass because
it's called Told-Syn, which is a custom Syn, if you can say like that. And they actually also gonna take your condition of the car, because they're gonna, I think they have 3 marks, like if your car is like mint condition, average, or below average. And this mark can affect your evaluation of the registration tax.
Okay, so I think this was everything about the import of the cars.
We touched it briefly, and I think that the message is, don't do it. If you're a student, this should not be your headache. Importing a car. If you need a car and you have to work for a long distance, buy a car from a crappy thing like this, or even this, and buy it from here, so you don't have to go through the hassle, because it can really be time consuming and also energy consuming.
Yeah.
So
So just to give them an idea, this car cost me about 26,000 kronas 2 years ago.
yeah.
I don't know how much.
This
you
I actually bought it quite. We bought it quite. This is my dad owned it before me, and I bought it for 3 years ago. But we paid 85,000 Danish krones for 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And I bought it from him for only 30. But I mean, it's still, you can get it quite cheaply anyway. So don't, take your car and go out and get through the hassle. If your car is like below 100,000 K in value, I think 100K in value, you can probably find a nice car that will fit your demands here in Denmark.
Yep.
So I think that's the message, and I think that we covered the import taxes.
Yep. I think we're gonna see you in the next episode where we're gonna be talking about buying cars.
Yeah.
And if you want to read something more about this topic, probably already there is a blog on our website, student-volvo.com/blogs, where you can find this episode, and there is going to be some further read, further information, and probably some links that you can check out if you want to import a car anyways, even against our advice, but you do whatever you do best. So
yeah, and remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also follow our Facebook channel. We have a lot of content out there for students especially, so make sure to follow us, and see you on the next episode.
Yep, see you.
Bye.